Hey there, you're listening to the Pursue Your Spark podcast. My name is Heike Yates, and on this show we talk about how to unlock your potential in your fitness lifestyle with tips, strategies, and interviews to help you create the life you love. Well, hey there, Heike Yates here, and welcome to another episode of the Pursue Your Spark podcast. Yes, I have to admit it. I love to exercise. And my kids know that by heart, that I say more than not, exercise is good for you. And I'm sharing this love with you guys through my podcasts, my blog posts, and my social media. And today's interview is no exception, but just recently I talked to Julie Sapper and Lisa Reichman, the owners and head coaches of Run Farther and Faster. And they shared with us how you get started in midlife to start running safely and what it means to exercise with a group and how rewarding it can be. Then we had my friend Angela Marie Maxwell, who has been walking the earth for 5 years. She's been walking with her little cart, Athena, through places that we wouldn't dare going by ourselves. But she says, fear is real. Being fearless is just a myth. And I'm so excited that I will see her in person very shortly. We're in the month of March, and I will see you at the end of March here in Washington, D.C., actually in person. But today, I'm talking about Helene Dumais. She is an athlete, coach, and speaker, but when I met her just a couple of weeks ago, and again, we're in the month of March, she just was so kind to accept my invitation to be on the show and share her story. It is just incredible. And I think one thing that describes Helene really well is her coaching business name, called the Weedy Mile. She says about it, it's the last mile or so of a journey that for some reason seems to take much longer than it should. It feels as though you're about to cross the finish line and collapse in the dirt. But instead, there's still some more twists and turns. And then, even when the Weedy Mile is over, you still have to walk to the car and drive home. Mind you, a Weedy Mile is better than a Pisgah sight, which is when, like Moses on Mount Pisgah, looking at the Promised Land, you can see something whilst knowing that you'll never get there. So please welcome my guest for today, Helene Dumais. Welcome, everybody, to the Pursue Your Spark podcast. And I have another incredible woman on a podcast. And wait till you hear her story. You'll be completely blown away. Her name is, and I hope I pronounce this right, because my French is really not that good. It's Helene Dumais.
Perfect.
Is that correct? That's correct.
Yes.
Athlete, coach, and speaker. She's also a film producer. She made the movie Facing Infinitus, the black hole of ultramarathons, 888 kilometers, 10 days, 20 runners, infinite impossibilities, or possibilities, I should say.
Yes.
Possibilities. She's also the owner of a coaching service called the Weedy Mile. So, Helene, bonjour.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, this is pretty much my French. And comment allez-vous? That's all my French that I have.
That's very good. I'm really happy to be there.
Oh, I'm so glad you said yes. And again, I love meeting you just this past weekend. And the listeners know that I always like to talk about how I meet my guests. And I just met Helene 3-4 days ago. And she said yes. And I was so blown away by her story and what she had to share with me that I said she will be the perfect guest on the podcast. So Helene, welcome and tell us who you are.
All right. So to make it short, yet My French name is actually, I'm French Canadian. I moved to the US about 3 years ago. I like to say my life, I'm an athlete, endurance athlete, an adventurer, and it all started when I was born 2 months premature. I like to think that's how it started because maybe I was right away on the survival mode. So I really have to make sure I stay alive. And since I never stopped wanting to feel alive, do everything I can do, experience life at its best. And so as an athlete, I started to run at 23 years old. I was not into running before that. I was more into art, so singing, dancing, and acting. And but my interest for health was always there, and so I knew it was good, healthy to be active. So I started to run 30 minutes every day, and this led me to sign up to a 10K trail, and I won it. So
Oh my God.
I was like, wait a minute, there's something's wrong here. I had a blast. I really had a fun time, just chasing the guys in front of me and just going up and over rocks and roots and mountains. I was really in my element. So I quickly moved forward to that. 10Ks became 21Ks and then 50Ks and 50 milers and then the 100 milers. Through that, I did a little side where I explored the obstacle course racing. That was also very exciting because adding a dimension to not only your trail running, but you have those challenges along the way.
Obstacles, Helene, like the ones that you crawl in the mud and all these, like
yes,
the Tough Mudders?
Exactly. Spartan Race, Tough Mudder. In Maryland, you have the Savage Race coming up. So yeah, climbing ropes, carrying heavy things, all that fun stuff. And so I did a blast over there. I performed very well as well. But my love for the ultra, the longer it was, the better. And so I moved forward and I went into more self-supported event. So longer.
Some people may not know what an ultra is. You and I know that. But
right.
I mean, most people know what a marathon is.
Right.
That's like 26.2 miles. But what happens after that?
Well, exactly. So whenever people say ultra, it's a distance above marathon distance, which is 26.2 miles. So anything above is considered an ultra. Now, most of the time we will think of 50 miler, 100 miler. It's kind of common distance.
Most of the time. Some people most of the time think of that.
And so I was, I went into more self-supported events. So less, I needed not only to be prepared physically, mentally for the long effort, but also logistically. Mm-hmm. So you have to carry your gear, your nutrition, have a plan of action. So I've done survivor runs, which is kind of a mix of obstacle, but 24 hours nonstop in a very exotic place where you have to do challenges along the way, climbing volcanoes.
I mean, your resume is unbelievable. If you guys look her up on her website, there's like a list that's at least a mile long with races, anything from 50K, which this is how I met Helene this past weekend, crushing a 50K, which is 32 miles. She was the first woman, crushed it way before any other woman. And she did it with ease. And so when the average woman, when I saw Helene, I said to you, you're not the right age for my podcast. And she said, hi, I'm much older than you think. She is going closer to 40. So guys, when you watch the video, she just looks healthy and young and she is so cute. So definitely don't miss the video because I underestimated this little powerhouse. So you started getting into these races, but most of us would say extreme races. Like, what does it mean self-supported? Do you like eat potatoes or bring your little Tupperware?
Yeah. So, people ask me, so now I do those 200 miler and the longest race I've done is a 550 mile race nonstop. So it's kind of, people can't even process it. And I understand that. So to get there, it took a lot of training, a lot of devotion. But yeah, it is. Is it extreme? It may sound extreme because it's not common, I would say, but I like to think not for me. It's not that extreme. I consider an extreme sport something where there's speed, like going downhill in ski or bicycling or skydiving. All these sports where there's a huge risk of getting big injury. Whereas I'm just moving as fast as human body can go. So in that sense, I don't see it as an extreme. And plus, we're designed as an animal, as an endurance animal or creature. So we're designed to do that, to walk, hike, run. So in that sense, yeah, maybe it's uncommon to see you ran for 5 days nonstop. So some of the, how did you do that, right? Yeah. So some of those events where I can just give you a few examples, but the Spine Race is a race in England. It's a 267-mile race, self-supported. So I need to carry my food, my BV, if I need to crash somewhere outside. So it's a nonstop event, right? You do whatever you need to do to make it in one piece in the fastest manner.
Do you sleep during that time, or do you fall asleep?
Yes. So we do need, at some point, the human brain need to recharge. So it depends from one individual to another, but some people can go 72 hours without sleep. It's impressive. I can't. Like after 40, maybe the longest I've been is maybe 40, 50 something. But yeah, you need to recover. So we're going to nap. And then you need to know what's your sleep cycle. So you can at best mimic that or follow that to get the best recovery in that amount of time. You don't want to sleep too much. Your system's going to shut down. It's like, okay, I'm done. So you want to keep it on the edge and just recharge, kind of like a smartphone. Well, I just need to get there. So just recharge a little bit and then you're good to go.
Good to go. Yeah, because you're thinking of this is a really long distance, and maybe some of the listeners have gone no more than 5Ks or 10Ks. So just the sure idea of covering so much space in that amount of time seems just a lot. So it's like you said, you bring in your sleeping bag or your BV. I don't know what a BV is.
Yeah, a BV. It's basically the most minimalist, lightest thing is kind of just an envelope you're going to slide in there. So it's not a tent. There's no poles and spikes. So it's just a bag. So it's a BV sack. Okay. And then you can slip in your sleeping bag. You just
put it in.
Yes.
So what do you typically eat?
In races?
Yes.
So this is also, there's a lot of work done behind the scene. So nutrition, as much we're all designed the same, yet there's some differences between one person to another. We can have sensitivities to something. And let's say I'm 5'2", 120 pounds. I'm not, there's guys, 6'5" and 300 pounds. So it's different. So calorie intake is important for sure. And so in these 24-hour nonstop over days, I ended up eating 7,000 to 10,000 calories a day.
Whoa.
Yes. And still there, you're shrinking, you're losing weight still. It's normal. You're going to lose half a pound per day, which is normal.
Okay.
Even you keep, because you keep moving, you're processing so much. So I eat a little bit of everything. When you can eat real food, it's good because still your body needs that. You cannot just eat bars and gels. Yet in between those more dense, normal meal, you're going to carry food. I got a few sponsors. Good for me because I need to eat a lot. So I have protein bars made out of cricket flowers. I got some little Fruit 2 and Fruit 3 from Exact Nutrition. So it's like fruit paste. So it's way more healthier and more digestible than gel. Mm-hmm. I got rid of gel really fast, like 10 years ago.
So gel is like sugar, guys. Gel is like sugar packs that are easy to digest for the system, so she can pop them in and gets a little kick when she gets tired or when she gets hungry. So the system keeps going as she keeps going for, like, let's say, days.
So that sugar, that high white sugar, you know, we don't recommend eating white sugar when we're not exercising, but when we're in there, it's kind of different. Your body's a machine.
Yeah.
And you want that quick kick of sugar. Meanwhile, once in a while, you want also to replenish your, you may, I think you're in nutrition, right?
Yes, glycogen
better than me to explain all that. But, you know, you need your minerals, your vitamins, your carbs, your good fat, and your proteins as well. Yeah. Know what you need for yourself and how and when, and how to better assimilate it. Because it's one thing to see, oh, this bar is packed with calories, it's 358 calories, but maybe you won't be able to assimilate and digest it all because it's just too dense. You would need too much water. So there's a lot of science behind.
That's what I tell my athletes. I have a client that I'm training right now who's preparing for his first Ironman.
Okay.
And he keeps telling me, I don't know what I should eat. Tell me what to eat. And I say, well, you have to start with, let's see, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. See what your stomach digests. But you can't run and eat peanut butter jelly sandwiches. Maybe you can eat them on the bike. When you swim, you eat something after the swim. So I'm trying to coach him through what his body can, or his gut can digest, and not ends up, and you familiar with that, bloating or gas or diarrhea, and that can just put a stop to a race right there. So I'm trying to slowly wean him into that it's okay to eat something on his run, but maybe not a peanut butter jelly sandwich. Since he's not doing a trail race, which is different, where you can eat, you can just grab a handful of chips and off you go. So it's a very different way of eating, but that's very different. So guys, he wouldn't recommend this if you're doing a 5K or 10K. You do not eat like Helene. No.
Oh yeah. People ask me, what do you eat? And I always ask, well, why do you ask? What's your goal? Do you want to lose weight? Do you want to build muscle? I'm an endurance athlete, so it's very specific nutrition. I eat a lot.
You eat a lot. And like you said, you keep losing weight despite the fact that you're popping down 7,000 to 10,000 calories during a race. Now, let me ask you, how do you prepare for a race like this? And what does it look like? What does your life look like as you prepare for a race?
Yes, yes, but these big elements are part of it. It's not just training, but sleeping is important, nutrition is important. So those three elements. How do I prepare? It depends what's going to be the race. If it's a 50K like last weekend versus if it's a week-long race. Now I got to, along the years, I got my volume of training to a certain level that I don't have necessarily to people, think, oh my God, you must be running like 25 hours a week. No, sometimes I got to 10, but that's it, almost. Like, really? So I do, I periodize as a coach. It's good. I get to create my own training plan, but so I periodize it, have the biggest volume, 2 to 3 weeks before the event, and I taper down. But it varies. So I got my body used to the mechanical stress of running and the physiological stress of going for hours and hours and hours. Your heart, your organs are working nonstop. So I progressively got my body able to do that. So then I'm maintaining, and then I can work on, the weaknesses I want to work on. And now it's that point, it's mental preparation, logistic. What am I going to eat? When am I going to sleep? So my weeks is depending where is it in my training. Of course, there's some running, there's some speed work, hill work, and I spend some time in the gym. I'm very pro of strength training. It's a big add-on for climbing those mountains, going down the mountains. So maybe, let's say, twice a week at least, I'm going to lift. It's good for the joints as well, for the health of the joints to lift heavy. It's helped the production of collagen we need to have healthy joints. So things like that.
Now, okay, now I want to dig a little deeper. So what does your personal life look like then?
My personal life?
Yeah, do you have a personal life? I mean, you have friends.
Yeah. But my life resolve, I'm intense, right? I never stop. So my friends are people I'm going to run with, maybe. I'm always into projects. So either like my work is, I love what I do. So it's not like, yes, I work a lot, but I like to do that. I'm going to work to build the next project, the next adventure or expedition I have. On the side, maybe I still love to sing. So that's my side thing that I wanted to more. So I love to sing once a week. Whoever's Facebook friend with me, I apologize, but once a week I post a song.
Would anything in specific? What genre? Like?
No, I'm pretty wide, though I have a very high pitch. So I'm soprano. I do like opera. Funny thing. So,
I was looking for those videos.
Yes. Sometimes it's opera, sometimes it's rock, sometimes it's pop. I'm playing around, jazz, blues. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm also thinking, as a producer of a movie, there's also, you produced a movie.
So yeah, right. So those are, again, things that I work every day. So that long race, that 551-mile race, it's called Infinitus. It's a 10-day cap to complete that distance. So it's basically 2 marathons a day in trails for 10 days. That's pretty much. So it's called Infinitus. I went there the first year. I was like, this is insane. Like, how, this is so crazy. Who are those people who show up? And like, here I am, right? Part of them. And I laughed. That was one of the most transforming experience. I'm like, I pushed way beyond what I thought was possible, physically, mentally. I didn't finish, so I got to 420 miles.
Wow.
And so I had like gut flora problem. My gut flora was kind of dead, so I couldn't absorb what I was eating. So that was super interesting. I was in deficit caloric at the end. Yet I was eating a lot, but that didn't go through. So first year I was there. I was like, there should be a documentary out of this thing. It's so amazing what's going on here. And then I thought, well, looks like I'm going to take on that challenge. So the year after I went back, I had a revenge with that race. So we did film pretty much most of it there. And so the film is about the race. It's not about me. I'm part of it as an athlete. But again, who showed up to do that? Normal people. They all have just that drive in there. They just want to push beyond, and they all have their own story. And it's the story of those 10 individuals. We see as well the crew, the race director, and what's going on for 10 days. And then, so that was mainly all filmed. And the third year, I didn't finish that year neither. I got to 460 miles. And I went back in 2018. So last year. I was like, this year it's going to happen. I made a plan of action, like it's a spreadsheet, 10 days. And you would ask me where I'm going to be on day 6 at 2:42 a.m. I'm going to be right there, and I'm going to eat that. So all my plan was done. Because every year, only one guy would finish.
Oh, wow.
So I knew it was possible, humanly possible, yet I don't have the pace of a guy. So I have to make a plan with no margin of error. And I had a crew. Caroline was my chief crew. She was amazing. So she had her own Infinitus going through that as well. So here's the plan. We work on it. And we were both just executing the plan. So, of course, the end of me being the first woman to ever finish that challenge, It was quite something. And we added that in the film, of course, the journey of Helen through that.
Yeah.
So yeah, the film is called Facing Infinitus. Now it's not out there yet because we're prepping a version for the film festivals. So while we're presenting it for the film festival, it cannot be out there yet for the general public. So stay tuned, Facing Infinitus.
Oh my God, I saw the little clip. I started crying because I was like, you were there sitting there crying, exhausted, not wanting to go on, munching on something. And I was like, guys, you got to check out that clip. It's just incredible. Even if you're not an ultra runner, it just is.
No, yeah. Because I like to say the message out behind is life is like a race. And so we all have our own infinitus to face. And what is infinitus? It's like the impossible challenge. You're like, no, it's impossible. How can you do that? 550 miles. Well, all of us somewhere, there's something in our life, we have a challenge that we may think, no, it's not going to happen. Whether it's business-wise, health-wise, relationship-wise. But how do we make that happen? It's to believe and to go one step at a time. Don't look at the big thing. So can I move one more step? Yes. All right, get there. And then who knows what's going to happen? Who knows how you're going to feel. Maybe you're going to, I have a second wind coming in your life, and you didn't know. So you got to believe, keep moving forward one step at a time.
Because that was my next question, was that why don't you think more women, you were the only woman in many of your races that was the only woman that has finished that race, placed first, or whatever. It seems like none of the other women not many other women, let's put it that way, gave it a shot. And I think you almost answered that question.
Well, I would say there's two elements to answer that, because yes, my name is more and more known, like, you're the first woman to do this, first woman to do that. Why? Well, first, so women in life in general, we have the heritage of our socio-cultural, economical background where, before, now today it's better, but before, women stay at home, men go work. So in a sense, we've just haven't got the chance or the opportunity to start. So we kind of have to, whether it's work or sport, no, I can do that if I want to. So we have less model, but now we're creating them. Hopefully, I like to think that I'm one. It's possible, I'm just a 5'2" little woman, nothing extraordinary. I'm not born with like crazy in a rich environment. I don't know, So I made it happen because I was believing. I'm a big dreamer. So,
because dreaming, I think, is a good answer. It's like nobody expects everybody to do a 500-mile race, but I think that what you said is dream big. Don't be the woman on the stove anymore. We have opportunities. We have, like you, a role model that says it is possible.
Yes,
it is possible. Don't think you're
not because it hasn't been done before doesn't mean it's impossible.
Yep.
Now, often. Let's not limit ourselves from what it's out there. Let's not limit ourselves. Our body is not limited by what's our mind or our mind. No, sorry, the other way around. Our mind is not limited by what our body can do. Oh, it's the other way around. I gotta find.
No, it's exactly that. That's exactly that.
Like, why would we stop thinking that? Why? Because it hasn't been done. Because, the classic example, when the mile run, the distance of a mile was always over. It has never been broken, like the 4-minute mile.
4-minute mile, yeah.
And then one day, one guy did it. And then gazillion of people done it right after. So it's not like he was special. but it's possible. It's like, oh, now that it's possible. So one other reason maybe, well, there's why myself, I like to go for these events that it's kind of unknown. There's no much data. There's no role model that has done it before. So here's the challenge. Is it possible? Well, let me find that out. So I got to do the work behind, find where is it? How? I need a map. I need how am I going to make that? So I like those events. I like to go for these. And now after that, I'm going to do it. You know, the Survivor Run Nicaragua. I became 4 years since the race existed. I became the first woman to complete it. Now there's another woman who did it. And, you know, I'm sure there's going to be more and more. So Infinitus, same. I was the first last year. Hopefully now there will be more after that. Because
I can imagine some of the listeners, and I think of somebody in particular right now, is going to be so inspired. And she had a question for you. This is our good friend, Patricia Scott. And she said, can you ask her when she's out there running if she has a mantra that she tells herself to keep going?
There's so many things that goes through my mind when I run. Of course, I have the time because those are long events. But so I don't have one sentence or mantra per se. Where I find empowerment is every event, every challenge, every race. I'm going to feed. They are all unique. They are one piece. And so who I am right now in my life, where I am, and I'm going to feed on what's going on in my life as source of empowerment. So not only the good things, let's say, I just fell in love, I'm excited and everything. It's easy to feed on that. Like, yes, I feel powerful, I'm the best, I'm loved and everything. But also maybe, let's say right now I'm going to be in a transition. So I'm closing a phase of my life and I'm entering a new one. So that 50K, I use that. Yes. Okay. I'm changing. I'm in a new, I don't know. I'm entering a new dimension. Let me show you what I got. So even things that maybe are going wrong or sad or challenging in our life, feed on that. It's still emotion in a sense. And okay, feed on that. I'm super positive. I'm always looking at what's working. Or let's say, oh, it's super muddy. Oh yeah, but I've seen worse elsewhere. Oh, I'm tired. Oh, but I've been way more tired when I was in that race. So always looking at what's working, what's positive, and I'm smiling all the time. And because I love to sing, so there's always like a theme song in my head for each race I do.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
So as you're running, are you worried about injuries at all, or how do you stay injury free because you're doing such major distances?
Yeah, of course, it's a worry more that it's an interest. So I'm really I love health, body. You know, I became interested pretty quickly about physiology. I became a massage therapist and then a coach as an athlete, and I'm very kinesthetic. And so I'm really in tune with what's going on in my body. So I have I like to use a preventive approach as much as possible, not wait that, hey, something could happen. So I'm always curious to learn, like, do I have a good form? Is my progression in my training is adequate? Is my sleep adequate? Because we're recovering through sleep. So, I'm worried. Yes and no. You know, I'm worried. Like, hey, maybe more. I haven't paid attention that much to my nutrition this week. Well, careful, you know, because it may have to pay in my next event. So I'm constantly kind of teaching myself also more and more about physiology, running physiology, ultra running. There's a great podcast called Science of Ultra. Lots of good information for that, because people like, how do you do that again to run so many days? Isn't it bad for your knees? And no, scientifically it's proven it's good for the knees to run. Like, really? Yes. So I do it more that way, preventive way.
Okay, we'll put a link in the show notes for the listener so they can
Yeah.
look up if they want to dabble more with ultras
It's,
or even want to
yeah.
know more about it. Yeah.
No, yeah, even for the non-ultra people. So it's very scientific. It's very nerdy, but they go deep in all different uh, dimension of running.
Yeah, and that answered almost my next question of how do you stay so fit? What do you do? Because it does help when you're your own coach, as I know from my own experience. I'm like, okay, I can help myself a lot of times because I pay attention to my body, just like you said, or I notice if my back's kind of tight. But what does it do? You do an exercise as far as additional supplemental exercises.
Right. It is very good to train outside of our discipline. So you get your body, because if let's say I'm a road runner, so just the same dimension, same hip flexion, same direction. Well, as soon as I go out, I can get weak in the other dimension, go lateral, and so you want to train the other dimension. So as well, for the health of our joints, I mentioned it earlier, but lifting, so weight training. So I do heavy lifting, deadlift, back squat. I'm going to work, so my muscle strength, my muscle endurance, so go a lot lower weight, and muscle power. All the different dimension, again, maybe because I'm into this world, but I get the benefit and do other things. So I'm gonna row, I'm gonna jump rope, of course all the obstacles. I love obstacle course racing, so I like to add upper body. This is not necessarily gonna help me to better run, but adding a different dimension, get to know yourself also. How can I say that? Yeah, the best coaching tip I can say, it's at the same time it's very wide, but get to know yourself, which is okay. It's very what do you mean? But if you do different sport, different physical activity, you're gonna see, I'm weak, or I'm strong, or wow, I'm out of breath when I do this. Why? So get to know yourself in these different dimensions will help you be a better runner.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. I'm a huge believer in cross training, and so many of the runners that I run with or I know, all they do is run. They're like, I don't have any time to do anything else. I'm like, yeah, but you have hip problems, your back's hurting, your posture sucks.
Yes.
And, I think that increasing upper body strength is a huge part for pumping the arms and keeping this part of running going. I'm wholeheartedly like, you need upper body strength to move, and you have to climb up and stuff like you do. So I wholeheartedly agree with that approach. And I wish everybody would listen to this podcast.
Right. Oh yeah, and my client too. Maybe they were a runner, just only running, and then I give them some strength training. They're like, okay, what is this? What is a deadlift, right? But then they get into this, like, man, it really makes a difference. Now I can just charge in those hills. Like, yeah. Also mobility, right?
Yes.
Mobility is super important. It's like the foundation. If you lack mobility, you may get injured at some point because you're restricted in your full range of motion when you're running, or the development of the full length of your muscles. Short story about upper body. I tell that to people. Sometimes I put them push up. Like, why do I do push up? Like, I'm a runner. But said, well, in trail, if you fall and you have to catch yourself down, you may be happy, like, oh, I actually have the strength to, assure that impact.
Yeah.
And it happened to me back earlier where I fell and I messed up the rib. So it was not broken, but almost. Because I fell in. So
badly bruised.
Yeah, you kind of need like a strong core, and the core is from neck to hip. So everywhere, keep that tight and strong. It helps.
Yeah, definitely. Is there one story that you can share with the listeners that happened, like something a cool story, whatever that means, cool, right? That happened to one of your long races? Something you go like, oh my God, aside from the fall.
Yes. Yeah. So maybe not cool, but it's always when there's intense moment. One race is called the Cross Florida Individual Time Trial. Okay. Basically, it's a 250 mile across the state of Florida.
Okay.
It's self-supported. So you start 1 foot touching the water in the Gulf of Mexico, and you got to cross following a GPS track and get to the Atlantic. And so where would I resupply? Well, convenience store along the way became heavens. And so at one point I reached that tiny village. I've never been there. And we're 2 runners together. And we get there like, and then we're sitting outside just munching on something. And a guy came out of his car, bought something, came out and gave it to us. He's like, God bless you guys. Oh my God, what? We look like homeless. And then someone else, again, stopped, bought something for us and gave it to us.
Oh my God.
So people took us as homeless. We're so like dirty and on the side shivering, like helpless. So that was kind of interesting.
That's a nice story, though.
Yes. I have many stories like where you feel alive. The spine race, again, across Scotland. I was running along with another guy that I just met over there, and we happened to have the same pace, so we hang out along. The longest he had ran before was 100 mile, and I did ran 250 miler across Florida, so I was familiar with that. And so we were probably 200 mile in. That was our last night. And it's cold, it's dark, there's fog, there's bug, it's wet. It's England. It's awful in the middle of the winter. And we have headlamps, spare battery, spare headlamps, spare battery. And I was working my way to hold my second place for like 2 days. And then I get finally to like a checkpoint. And I'm like, I need a nap badly, for 17 hours there. Next time there, we'll take a nap. But then I get there and they told me, so the third lady is like an hour away from here. Like, oh my God. And then I said, John, if you're ready, we're not going to stay. We're just going to head back out right now. And he was up for it. I'm like, okay. So we didn't sleep. We were exhausted, sleep deprived. We go through the night. The cold start eating our headlamp juice battery, so it goes down. We change battery. Oh my God, shoot. And then change headlamp. I don't know why that moment, we ended up on our last spare of battery and we just left. We're not done yet. And then he started to fall asleep.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, oh, no. Stay with me. So, I was just keeping him entertained. So ask him questions. So your wife and your kids and this. But then he was just fading out like, no. Cause he can't just fall asleep. It's dangerous, right? It's cold and wet. And I'm not strong enough to carry him through the night somewhere. So at the same time, we have a GPS tracker device. So the organization, the race can follow us. And the most awkward moment, we're in England, right? We just met this guy. And he has his phone because his wife was following. He was talking with her sometimes. He's like, hey, Helen, your client, Caroline, in Quebec, she's saying that your GPS tracker is off. And I'm like, I couldn't process, and I'm tired. Like, what do you mean? How do you know her? And how did you get to, like, I couldn't understand. We're nowhere in the middle of nowhere. It's dark. How the hell did you get in contact with Caroline? And how come she knows that? So she was following online. Basically, her wife told, anyway, people were following and
People
told
knew.
us that info. Yeah, people knew, like, but we're in the middle of nowhere. My GPS is off. So they're going to be worried. If something happened to me, they can't follow me. They can't reach out. He's falling asleep. I'm like, oh. And then I just like play the tough until, damn, I'm actually falling asleep as well. And it's so hard to fight. And when you're sleep deprived, the feeling is like you're drunk.
Okay.
You're like wobbling. You're having a hard time to focus with your vision. Plus it's dark. And you start hallucinating, seeing things that are not there. So that was really scary because I was like, no, we're getting close. Telling him that we're so not close. And we just got hit. We pushed. That was hard to just stay awake. And yet I actually fell asleep. I slept, walk. Because when we reached somewhere, there was light. And it took me a minute to understand what was going on. And I was actually dreaming. And then I figured out, like, hey, you're not my friend Michael. And hey, we're in England. We're not in Maryland. I'm like, wait a minute, what's happening here? And then I realized I was just falling. I fell asleep and was dreaming.
Oh my God.
The whole thing. It's like, how did that happen? Thank God we got there. So that was challenging. One of the scariest moments.
Wow, that is scary. Sleepwalking, running.
Yes.
Sleeping.
Things can go sour pretty fast.
Okay.
And so that's why, like, okay, my GPS tracker went back on. We didn't fall down, on the side and roll and for a freeze there.
Did you finish the race?
Yes, I finished second. Woman.
How awesome. How awesome.
What a most brutal event.
Wow. Let me ask you, switch a little bit. I get oftentimes in my group of women in midlife, they're saying, I'm too old for this. I can't take any of these challenges on, and I should be only walking, and I should only be doing some Pilates. And this is all way too challenging for me. What you got for them?
So, well, don't stop if you want something, why not go explore it, right? You got one life, and I'm going to say it, it's never too late to start. And the best example is my mom. My mom now, she's 77, and maybe 5 years ago, she kept looking and talking about, there's this beautiful walk in Spain. It's called Camino de Santiago. It's like a 500 mile. 500
kilometer or 500 miles. I'm not
500
sure.
mile. It's 800 kilometer. So 500 mile. And she just kept talking about it. I'm like, that sounds great. She's like, yeah, I saw this conference about it. I saw this documentary about it. And I'm like, well, why don't you do it? She's like, well, I can't do that. She's never been, physically active necessarily. And she was 73 at the time. I'm like, why not? Well, I'm too old or this or that. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. She's like, well, it's way too big. I'm like, wait a minute. Can you walk? Can you put one step in front of the other? She's like, yes. Okay. So don't look at the big end of it. But if you can walk, well, then you can train to get there. So she's like, well, I don't know if I can, my health. I said, well, go check with your doctor, get the, do all the tests. And if she gives you the green light, okay, like, yes, you're physically able to do that. Well, the first thing is you got to commit. And don't try to figure it out how you're going to do it now. Just, you want it. If you're excited and nervous, that's the same feeling in your body. Good. That means it's a big challenge, big enough for you. If you're nervous, that means no, it's easy. So commit, and then you'll find out how to make it happen. So I said, for you to commit, you're going to buy your plane ticket. So she saw her doctor. Everything was fine. So I said, all right, just buy a plane ticket for next summer. And so then we have a year to get you there. And so we started one step at a time. I said, you're going to go walk 1 kilometer 5 days a week. And in the house, you're going to do 10 times the stairs at home,
Awesome.
and right? All right, up and down. And then I show her how to deadlift, because you'll have to pick up your bag. So interestingly enough, she has never been interested into lifting or training. But the fact that now there was a meaning, there was a reason. She was all excited. I brought a barbell in the basement of my parents. My mom, she is in her bare socks, and I show her to deadlift. It was beautiful. And she would do her little deadlift and, build some strength, some lunges, and everything was related to, I got to carry my bag, pick up my bag, go up the mountains. Yeah. And along the way, she would build the logistic. What does she need with gear-wise? And up to a point, midway, she did a little challenge, like a 200-kilometer flat with, station along a trail, a very easy, close to civilization. So every day she would be safe, and she did that. And then a year after, she went and she did the 800-kilometer of that trail at 75 years old. And,
incredible.
When she finished, she's like, I've done something that I, since I was 18, I wish I would have done. I said, it's never late. And she got back. She looked younger. So much, like her skin was shinier, more elasticity. Great. She's like, that was the best experience in her whole life.
Yeah.
And even in there, when she, just before she left, she had some tests, medical tests, just, general screening. And she was in communication with my father on his trip. Mm-hmm. On her trip, and she learned that she had breast cancer cells.
Oh.
As she was doing her trek, she didn't tell anyone, and she had to make a decision: do I go back home right now and take care of that, or do I pursue my trip? And she decided to pursue. And so afterwards, she's like, "That's probably the best thing I ever done," because she had so much good energy, good for her body to be out there. And when she got back, she took care of that. I mean, she had like surgery and everything, and now she's cancer-free.
Oh, wow.
So,
it's like walking the Camino de Santiago is for many such a spiritual walk. Mm-hmm. And many people do it for reasons, and it's of feeling better, finding themselves. And I think it's really interesting to know that your mom found out just before she went, or during the walk, that she had something, and she said, you know what, I have one life to live, and I'm going to finish this because this is really what I want.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's a good story. So listen to this like over and over, guys. So there is nothing that holds you back other than yourself. It's not arthritis in the knee. It's not the whatever else, the high cholesterol, which would get better if you keep walking and eating healthier.
Yes. So, and again, we might not have all the resource at the moment to do it, but it's got to start somewhere. So if something calls you like, just makes you smile and get some bright lights in your eyes when you look at that, well, go for it, explore it, and then you'll find a way. You'll find the resources to make it happen.
So what is next for Helene?
So after I do a lot of competition, and then going more and more in the self-supported aspect of these events, I want to do more, meaning, well, I realize it's great what I'm doing, but how can I make a difference in the world with what I do, right? I'm not a surgeon. I can't save life in that sense, but how can I make a difference is by inspiring people, sharing, being the example, kind of being the, walk the talk, being a model. And so I decided I'm going to start a series of running expedition where that are linked with a charity. Either it's a humanitarian or environmental cause. And so as an example, the one I want to work on is charity water. So they are about to bring, they're all about bringing clear water to everyone in the world. And so a lot of their work is in Africa. And so I'm thinking, could I link those villages that don't have water yet? And there's a lot of, it's women walking every day 5 hours to go get water, not even clean water, but, you know, in that hole, bring it back. So their whole life, they don't get education. They're this sanitary, the sanity level of their village is not good. The kids are, you know, there's disease. So it has a huge impact if they could get clean water. And so I want to kind of link those villages and make like an endurance trek of, let's say, 200 miles. And invite all these ultra runner that would be up for the challenge, self-supported. You're going to do that. Of course, you're going to gather water the same place these women are doing. And in that manner, bring awareness. So we'll do, you know, documented with pictures, video, articles, and have more visibility for people to support this cause.
That's an awesome idea.
Yeah. So I'm really open, by the way, for ideas, connection. So that's one, charity water. If I can make one, I'm always also very sensitive by child sex trafficking. So if there's one way I can link, like create an endurance challenge and bring awareness to this cause, I would make it. So I'm really open. Again, the more people involved, I know I have like already, you know, a photographer from the US, a blogger from Canada and US that, okay, yes, we're up for the challenge. We want to bring this out there as much as we can.
So for anybody listening, share this podcast with as many people as you can possibly think of, as we're sharing the audio and the video as well, because I want to support Helene on her adventure of helping other people through these causes. So if you know an ultra runner, pass it on, let him know. We're putting as many of the links in the show notes that you can reach out to Helene and contact her and offer your either running help or resources or whatever it is that she can get support for these amazing ventures that she has planned.
Yes, it's not, there's nothing on this project yet on my website, but it's coming up. So until then, just drop me a line like, hey, I think this is great. I want to be part of it. And at the same time, I love people when they contact me for anything, just share something. If I can help, if you have questions, I'm there as an athlete, as a coach, as a human being, as a woman. Feel free to reach out. If I can make a tiny difference in someone's life every day, I'm happy.
And how can people find you?
So Facebook, I have my Facebook page, which is Helene Dumais Adventurer. I'm on Instagram. Those are links. So Helen _adventurer. My website, my name, helenedumais.com. Those are pretty much the three platforms you can reach me easily.
Yeah, and all these links will be in the show notes because I had to practice how to pronounce your name, and I did it a couple of times.
Right. Helen sounds fun in English, but yeah.
Not even spelling. I was like, okay, how do you spell Dumais? I'm like, okay. But we'll put all in the shows in the links in the show notes for you to reach out. And I want to say thank you so much for being here today and sharing your spirit and your strength. I loved having you, and I know everybody will love the interview as we have the video where we can see our beautiful selves and the audio. So thank you so much.
Well, I'm the one. I'm very grateful. Thank you for having me. And however I can help, I will. I want to. Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. So we'll see you on the trail, right?
Yes, definitely.
So bye.
Bye-bye.
So what do you think? Are you ready to run a really long race and step in the same path as Helene Dumais? I dabbled with it a little bit. My longest race was a 50-miler, but then I decided that this was probably just my distance. But please reach out to Helene if you want to support her with her cost for the charity water, to bring water to those African towns and villages. Or reach out if you have a question. She's one of the most generous people with her information and her guidance. And all the links are in the show notes. And as always, if you love the show, please give the show some love and leave a review on iTunes. We would love you for it. So until next time, here at the Pursue Your Spark podcast, have a wonderful day. Ciao.